is News 8 at 5.
Coming up new tonight at 5:30, a long ride home is coming to an end. A Southern California couple is back in San Diego after a trip around the world.
Bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to.
Hello, my name is Pat Patterson, and I've got a story to tell you.
Back in 1987, I left reality behind and chose adventure. The result? Bicycle rides that took 7 years of my life. I visited 6 of the 7 continents. I got a bike's eye view of 81 countries and the peoples of the earth. Oh, and along the way I pedaled more than 60,000 miles. All this wasn't without cost, above and beyond the money. My wife, my business, illness, even an armed robbery, just to name a few.
Bicycle, bicycle.
My first taste of this kind of world travel occurred in 1985 when my wife, at that time, Victoria, and I took a vacation to China. It was a tour, but unlike any of our past trips, we didn't go by bus or boat. This time, we went on bicycles. It was an instant love affair for me. I felt freedom, seeing, feeling, touching, even smelling things that I'd never experienced on typical vacations. In retrospect, I believe the idea was born in 1979 when my 19-year-old son, Ron, died. Oh, it was nothing heroic, nothing traumatic like an accident, but it was swift. An aneurysm, a blown artery, swept him away instantly. Nobody ever said that life would be easy. After the initial grief, I began to ponder my own life. I owned a successful realty firm in California, but I felt that my purpose in life had to be bigger. Bigger than business, bigger than making lots of money. I wanted a dream. I wanted a dream that was fulfilling, but I never dreamt that it would eventually consume my life. In my mind, I became Don Quixote de la Bicicleta. Obviously, I fell in love with cycle touring, so much so that I rode around the world twice. During that first ride, that was 1988, 89, and 90, I was only 48 years old when I started. My wife, Victoria, and I christened the journey Voyagers 2. She wasn't very happy about it. She didn't like the lifestyle. Second time around, at age 62, from 2002 to 2006, was quite a different experience. My new cycling partner and current wife, Kat, loved the physical, the mental challenges, and we dubbed ourselves World Riders 2, and I then became part of that elite club who cycled around the world twice. Trip 1, the Voyagers 2 trip, began March 4th, 1988 in Ventura, California. We maintained an eastward orbital path with the afternoon sun always on our backs. From California, we crossed the southwestern deserts through the deep south, then up the east coast and out to Nova Scotia, Canada. Next, a flight, Iceland, and a ride across the southern coast. From there to Inverness, Scotland, through London and down the east coast and across the English Channel. In Europe, through France, Switzerland, Italy, and Yugoslavia, then Romania, and we crossed into the Soviet Union on April 21st, 1989. Becoming the first Americans ever permitted to cycle through the USSR, entering western China at Yining. I had to fly from there to Kashgar, located at the foot of the Himalayas. Then, climbing up and over 16,000 feet, I crossed from China into Pakistan. Across Pakistan into India through the Punjab region, where my daughter Stephanie, 18 at the time, joined me for 3 weeks of cycling into Nepal, to Kathmandu in the shadows of Mount Everest. Solo again, I headed for Tibet, where I found that the Chinese government had withdrawn my permit to cycle. I was forced to get to Lhasa by jeep, where I was flown out to Chengdu, China, again onward through China's mainland, then up the length of Japan. A flight to Alaska, a mere 1,500-mile ride down the west coast of Canada and the USA, and I'd come full circle, back home to Ventura, California in October 1990, just in time to celebrate my 51st birthday. 2 years and 7 months, 18,234 miles later. Trip 2, the World Riders 2 Trek, began from the same area in Southern California on April 12, 2002, at the ripe young age of 62. This time, the U.S. route took a northerly course, leaving Oxnard, California, north to San Francisco, then eastward through the northern Rockies and the Midwestern states and out to Quebec, Canada. Another flight soared us to the coolest place on earth, Greenland. The next leg took us through the Scandinavian countries, and after biking the frozen north, we needed a change, a thaw-out, so we flew to Lisbon and basked in the warmth of Portugal. We drove back to Finland and resumed our trek into Russia, Poland, and the Baltics, then Western Europe through Germany, Belgium, France, and Spain, and we crossed the Strait of Gibraltar to Morocco, cycling down the west coast of Africa with a crossover to Kenya, then down through Tanzania and Zimbabwe to South Africa. From there, we hopped to South America, where we visited almost every country. We traversed Central America and Mexico. We even spent 3 weeks cycling through Cuba. We were back in the good old USA and home on March 11, 2006. During this 4-year adventure, we visited 57 countries and rode more than 23,000 miles. You know what? I'm ready to go again. The Iron Curtain, the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, we all felt the evil until that wall came down in the fall of 1989.
To ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
Having all my requests to cycle the USSR greeted with "Niet," I had given up on the idea of riding there until we encountered a USSR-USA peace walk in Philadelphia on the U.S. leg of our trip in 1988. Re-inspired, I took another run at the Soviet state-owned travel company Intourist. This time when they said "Niet," I objected. More letters and calls, even attempts to contact President Gorbachev. Then out of the blue, a call. "This is Mikhail. I can help with your trip possible. You will send $9,900 will include all costs while in Soviet Union." I trustingly did it. Mikhail went to work on the plan and we started packing. Mikhail met us at the airport in Moscow, and after he performed some magic at the immigration counter, we were instantly out the door and on the Moscow streets. We were assigned guides from the Moscow trip, a woman named Ludmila and her son Sergei. We were sure we saw KGB lurking in every shadow. Our suspicions began to ease as we got to know them. When we ventured out on our own, we found real people living real lives. Aside from our presence here, we also ran across more evidence of perestroika. The cast of the TV show Dallas was shooting in Red Square. Continually, we began to feel that these were just people, like us. Mikhail then introduced us to our cycling team, Dima, a young guy with a car and trailer, and his wife Sabina. Sergei would come on his motorcycle, as he said, and Alla, a member of the Soviet cycling club, would join us. Leaving Moscow, we flew to Yugoslavia and resumed cycling into Romania, and it was like entering a third world country. Our final day there was filled with intrigue. While we were out, the police entered our hotel room and erased our pictures and video. We would travel through 7 of the Soviet republics. At Tashkent, Uzbekistan, our journey was stopped and plans revised due to nearby violence. That became the last straw for my wife Victoria. She decided that she'd had enough and flew home. I carried on as Voyagers 1. The real problem, the real bottom line here. I learned that people of the USSR are no different. People are people everywhere in the world. It's the governments that have the differences.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, tear down this wall.
On July 6, 1989, after 79 days of cycling in the Soviet Union and just 1 month from the Tiananmen Square uprising in Beijing, I crossed into Xinjiang, Western China. Another adventure rolling into the unknown.
Bicycle.